Nobody remembers the Sincere Cafe anymore. A greasy Chinese joint that stayed open from 12 p.m. till 3 a.m. every day. It was on 16th Street, just off Valencia in the Mission. I learned about the Sincere within my first couple weeks of arriving in San Francisco, when my own failed social scene had splintered and blown away in the Pacific winds. It was a place where you could score an enormous plate of way too much veggie chow mein for $2.99 and a Qing Dao for another $1.49. A carb orgy that could carry your appetite from early evening to the next morning. Unwilling to return to my lovely, lonely hovel of an inherited studio, a complete rip-off at $475 a month in the early 90s, I would accordingly spend long hours haunting the counter at the cafe. Davey was one of 3 partners there, the one tasked with interacting with the public. And if you sat at the counter and consumed this feast of starch long enough, he would talk to you in broken English about the Dallas Cowboys and how he was making a killing betting on them, including their games against the 49ers. He could keep this up late into the swing shift limbo hours when the cafe became a haven for junkies, hookers, and their new neighbors, the tatted, pierced club kids of the Mission who would wander in broken-hearted, hoping to cut their losses at 11 p.m., or the wasted, inebriated, maybe even lucky ones at 2 a.m. He worked all the way till past closing, a proud non-citizen working for that card, and this made Davey more of an American than most of his customers. But most important, the Sincere was one of the legendary San Francisco havens, a sanctuary not just for the clubbers, but for the broken and desperate, the ones who had fallen off the chase of the dream that had brought them to this soft-looking but hard-living city in the first place, only to wind up in the far, far past seeking absolution in our Chapel of the Rigs or deep-seated crystal meth basements. What Davey knew then, and what I know now, was that this was the kind of world where any damn fool could get lucky for years at a time if they bluffed their cards with just the right nuance. You could fuck a celebrity here if you didn't mind humping them halfway down their own slow career spiral. Happy to introduce you to all their happening connections. Jello, Lawrence, hey, maybe even Francis. How is it that so many beautiful people weave their way in and out of this junky landscape so fluidly? It was always hard for me to stare into the orgy pit without bursting into spontaneous combustion. How was I to be expected to go moshing in there? Today the internet spills over into the consensual reality. Back then, it was the indie press, punk rock, performance art, indie film, radical activist scenes that were spilling over into the consensual reality. All those things have now been eaten by the internet. It's profound, bittersweet, and sublime to suddenly realize you've known all these people who live in all these worlds from previous worlds you've lived in. Realize that you know them from all your other squalid existences, and that not only are they your other family, but that they are your real family. And to suddenly realize, with sincere clarity, that you have now gone quite insane. It becomes easier to hurt yourself. So many tricks we know, so many tricks we do. The Mission was the Bardo, a surreal waiting room between life and death where we attempted to rebirth ourselves. The Tenderloin was the Bardo where we landed after all the other Bardos had rejected us and our consensual realities, turned us out. Or maybe that was Oakland. It's so hard to tell anymore. It's so hard to remember. The Sincere and Davey have been gone a long time now. But one thing I remember for sure, that this was the time I started dreaming of an archetypal mansion, always dark and mysterious at the beginning of a dream, always a sense of dread and being chased blind through its corridors. But in these dreams, the mansion's entrances and floors and stories would shift wildly between the modest satanic grottos and a pop-up World Trade Center. But regardless of its forms, our entire family lived inside the structure without ever really seeing each other, all serving out sentences here in the Goldilocks zone, in that perfect edge of the galaxy, in that perfect window of orbit, in the solar system on the perfect island, with a perfect city for a perfect cafe and a perfect plate of cheap chow mein, for which there is an ever-increasing long line of people waiting for the doorman to let them in. You tell me, and I know, it's not healthy to keep coming back here. I keep pretending by singing to the people waiting around me. Does anybody here remember Sincere Cafe? Remember how she said we would meet there soon, some sunny day? Go ahead, throw all your books at me. Casual stalking and casual plagiarism aren't crimes so much as gutter-level market commodities. That's why the object of your affection won't ever fuck you. No one wants the party to be over, to close out any of their options. No one wants the salon saloon to close, or the increasing distance between us. But here it comes. Here it is. And this is how one starts to believe this really is the family we asked for. These artists, these hustlers, and sometimes, yes, I even think I still see Davey out there. No matter how many times I run away, no matter how many times you run away, we, you, I, us, always end up right back here at the Sincere.
Yeah.